Hi, this video is actually going to help you or help one of my students, and who knows if I'll send it to more. Oops, where'd that go? Full screen. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, here it is. I always forget where the full screen is. Okay, so this is going to help with solving a system of equations that happens to have fractions in it. So a lot of people get stopped up with the fractions. They don't remember to get a common denominator. They think they're really hard and really struggle with answering them. So let's look at one. Here's my first problem here. Well, my only problem I'm going to do on this video, but 1/2 x plus 2/5 y equals 3. And the other equation I have is 5/4 x minus 1/5 y equals 8. So those are my two original equations. And what we want to start with these is multiplying by a common denominator. What this does is get rid of your fractions, and then you can easily solve it from there. This step really helps being able to understand what's going on. Otherwise, it's a lot harder. So if I look at the first equation, I have a 2 and a 5 as my two denominators. So if I times those together, I get 10, which is the lowest common denominator, or a denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 10. So I'm going to go 10 times the 1/2 x plus 10 times the 2/5 y equals 10 times 3. And on the second equation, I'm going to multiply everything by 20. 4 times 5 is 20. Or, you could look, if it was a 4 and an 8, you could use 8. But typically, you multiply them. But here's our 20. So I'm going to multiply the second equation by 20. So on the second equation, I'll do it over here. I would have 20 times 5/4 x minus 1/5, 20 times 1/5, I'll write the 20 first, doesn't matter, but I'm going to write the 20 first. 20 times 1/5 y equals 8 times 20. Okay, so those are both of my equations. Now I just need to solve them. They'll be in a much prettier form for me to solve the systems of equations and go from there. Okay, so for here, on this one, 1/2 of 10 is 5, or 2 divides in there, leaving a 5. So I have 5x, and 5 divided into 10 is 2. 2 times 2, you have a 2 there still, is going to give you 4y, just bring down your plus sign, equals 10 times 3, or 30. So there's our first equation. Over here, 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 5 is 25x. Minus 5 goes into 24 times. 4 times 1 is 4. Y equals 8 times 20 is 160. And maybe you didn't quite get the fractions as fast. You can put this over 1, and you could write this out if you need. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 5 gives us that 25. Either way that you need to think about those fractions. By now you should be pretty good at fractions, and that should be something you're flowing pretty good at. If you're still struggling with fractions, then make sure you practice those on the side when you have some time. Just simple practicing, adding them, multiplying them. Nothing extensive. And even if you just did it 5 minutes a day, you'd probably get way better at fractions, than they wouldn't confuse you so much. Now, look at these two equations. Notice that the y's both have 4's. One's negative, one's positive. So with those, we can already use that elimination method. So I'm going to write down both equations, and I can, remember, elimination is just like a big addition problem. I can eliminate them to get my answer. So big addition. That makes this 30x, 5 plus 25. That makes this one 0. So yay, these kind of go to 0, cancel each other, eliminate. That's the reason why we like this method. 160 and 30 make 190. Divide both sides by 30. And I get 190 over 30, which, remember, you could reduce, divide both by 10, you get 19/3. So I want to reduce, I want to reduce as low as I can, because I have to plug in that 19/3 back into one of my other equations. So I'm going to plug the 19/3 into maybe this equation, because it looks the prettiest. So I'm going to do 5 times 19/3 plus 4y equals 30. All right, think of this as 5 over 1. I don't know 5 times 19 off the top of my head. 95. 5 times 19 is 95. thirds. Let me make sure you can see my 90. Oops, there we go. Sorry. 5 times 19 is 95. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 4y equals 30. Now, this is a plus, so I got to minus it over to the 30. So maybe I'll just block this off so you know what I'm doing here. But I'm going to have 4y equals 30 minus 95 thirds. So from here, I got to think of this as 30 over 1. I got to get a common denominator. So I really have to times the top and bottom by 3 here to get the common denominator. So 3 times 3 is 9, or 90, over 3 minus 95 over 3. 90 minus 95 is 5, negative 5 thirds. So I have 4y equals negative 5 thirds. Now remember that you got to divide this over. Well, think of it as a fraction. You just flip it and multiply. That's what division is with a fraction. So y is going to equal negative 5 thirds times 1/4. And then that's going to equal negative 5 over 12. And that's your y. And here's your x. Then you plug those into Math Excel with a comma in between, x, y. Okay, so hopefully that helps with solving equations with fractions.